Good morning. Today is October 25th, 2002. My name is Emily Jobson and I am a senior at Rome Free Academy and my partner is Heather Carmody. We are interviewing Mr. Daniel Barney, a World War II veteran in the U.S. Navy.
I gotta take all these pages left to make my...
What's your full name?
Daniel E. Barney.
When and where were you born?
I was born in Herkimer, New York, July 28, 1926.
What was your pre-service education?
I got about 6 weeks in the first year high in Herkimer, and then I dropped out.
Did you have a pre-service occupation?
Pre-service?
Yeah.
I just went into the factory.
What did you do in the factory?
I started out as an errand boy, and then I went on the assembly line, and I finally wound up on the mechanical assembly line with, it was UNIVAC, I might call it.
Where were you when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
Oh boy. I used to know too. Right now, I can't think. I was only 16, 17.
Okay. When did you enter the service? Were you drafted or enlisted?
I was drafted at 18, but then I volunteered, and when I got there I volunteered into the Navy.
How did your friends and family react to entering the service?
About my being in the service? They were very, probably worried. I had a brother over in Germany, and then I was going over in the Pacific. So, but they wrote quite often.
Your brother enlisted before you, or was he drafted?
I have what?
Was your brother enlisted, or was he drafted?
My brother enlisted. My older brother.
What branch did you serve?
George was in the infantry.
Why did you serve in that infantry?
Sorry?
Why did you serve in the Navy? Or no?
I was in the Navy, yeah. I went in the Navy. I went directly across country, and wasn't too long after that I was on a troop ship headed for overseas.
Where did you go for basic training?
Sampson Naval Base.
Were there any interesting experiences that you had in basic training?
No, just that I was skinny and scrawny and got tired easy. It built me up though. It was good for me.
Did you feel that your basic training was adequate?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
What were you trained for specifically?
I was just trained to go overseas aboard ship.
What were the names and types of ships you served on?
I went over on the troop ship, USS William Mitchell, and I made the rounds from New Guinea down towards Australia. Made my way up through, and we stopped all the way up through to the Philippines, and then I was assigned to the USS Dixie, and that was about the extent of my ships to be on. I was on that ship. That was my main thing overseas. I mean, quite an experience. So I went from the Philippines up into China.
What ship did you like to serve on best?
What ship did I like best? Well, the USS Dixie was the only one that I was really, my full-time, you know, that I was in the service. I mean, a troop ship, this is nothing to be on. And then I was aboard some little converted fishing ship in San Diego, just waiting for my, what they call a point system, to get discharged to go home. Because the war ended when I was in the Philippines.
We know you didn't come in any combat, but did you receive any training on what to do under a sub or aerial attack?
No. There's only a couple of different times where our troop ship was trailed for quite a few miles by the enemy sub, and we were not under any convoy. Then we connected up with a convoy. Other than that, I mean, then when the Dixie left the Gulf of Leyte after the bombs were dropped, they went up through into China, and we went through a whole string, well, quite a few water miles or whatever. We went through our minefields. We had to be guided through the minefields. And our ship was the first one to go up the Yangtze River and the Wangpu River into Shanghai. And it was the first ship since before the war between China and Japan. And it was quite an experience to me, you know.
On the repair ships, did you see or repair any damaged ships from the Battle of Leyte Gulf?
Did I see any ships there? Well, when we were in the Gulf of Leyte there, that's where we were stationed. I mean, we saw ships coming in from damage, you know, that we used to watch them. They used to weld the holes on the underwater. They used to weld the holes in the ships. And that's the results of the ships that were damaged when they were, well, about the time the bomb was dropped. There was 2 of them dropped. And then after that, the war come to an end. Quite a few ships come in alongside, you know, and get repaired and then go. Then we more or less served as a supply ship too. So.
What were your most vivid memories of the Philippine Liberation?
That was something. I wished I had the pictures. But all the ships in the harbor, Leyte, Gulf of Leyte there, all the ships and anything there was that had fire hose and spotlights and anything like that, they lit up the whole harbor. It was beautiful. It was, you know, like a fireworks celebration. And I remember that. That was quite a thing. It's when they had finally conceded to the war, you know. Mm-hmm. Then I think it was probably maybe, that was August 9th. I think a few days after that, they signed the surrender.
How did the Filipino people treat you?
They were good. I mean, I was in there for a while. March, maybe from March through to December or something. They were good. We were allowed to go ashore every 4 days, and we mix among the people, and we were allowed to have beer over there. And it wasn't too bad. It was just an experience to see people living in the jungle, you know. It's about what it was, you know.
They live in the jungles?
Well, it was, you know, their houses were on sticks or whatever. I don't know what they call them. And Everything was so remote. There was just paths from one village to another, you know, because we were on the other opposite side of the island, where maybe Manila was like a city, you know. So we were in the smaller ones.
How were the relationships between the different branches of service?
Pardon?
How are the relationships between the different branches of service?
The relationships?
Yeah.
I don't think there was any. I think everybody knew what their job was, and they all got. There was no friction, as far as I know, between any of them.
Did you ever come in contact with Japanese soldiers that were captured?
No.
What were your thoughts towards the Japanese people at the time?
Well, it's almost. It took me a long time. Probably took a lot of us a long time. Couldn't blame the people. You could blame the people that did it, but we can never forgive them for what they did.
What were the roles of the ships you served on?
Pardon?
What were the ships for that you were on? What did they do?
The ship? The ship was a repair ship. It was the USS Dixie. It was a repair ship. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was your life like on the ships?
It was all right. We had a lot of fun. I mean, of course, we weren't right into a war zone, you know, but of course we used to get the blackouts, you know, or the air raid warnings and stuff like that. But
what did you do during the blackouts?
I was nothing that I can remember. You know, it was so close to near the end of the war that they were preparing to bring that bomb, make the two strikes there.
Mm-hmm.
I did on the way up to China. I saw the one island that was just scorched to nothing, you know, and that was probably Okinawa, maybe. Mm-hmm.
How did you stay in touch with your family and friends?
By mail. Usually wrote letters, you know, and mail was the best. I mean, there was one at one time, like I think when you wanted to write over to Europe, when there was anyone in Europe, like my brother was over in Germany. He was in the invasion of Normandy, and then he got injured and he was in the hospital in Germany, and then they had V-mail. I got some pictures of the V-mails here. They're more or less, you write a letter and then they scope it down or shrink it down and do something, take a picture, and it's a little bit of a thing. It's, I asked some younger people about V-mail, I never heard of it, you know.
What places did you go see when you were on shore leave?
Oh, there's villages in the Philippines that I went to, but I can't remember them all. That was 65 years ago, so, you know.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any memorable experiences from those places?
Some of them that weren't too pleasant, you know. One fellow went out. They go out on 50-foot motor launches, you know, and I don't know if they make a trip ashore or where they go, but one of them got caught in the storm, and they got a cue there for steering their motor launch. One of them just got a direct hit with lightning, you know, and it's just stuff you don't like to hear about. I mean, I knew the guy and everything, but that was just a freak of nature, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But anything as far as any combat stuff, I don't know of anyone that.
Do you remember the day they announced the atomic bomb had been dropped on Hiroshima?
Oh yes, yeah.
What was your reaction?
We celebrated. We were in the Gulf of Leyte there. That's when we celebrated. I think there might have been a time difference or something, but it seems to me I always remembered that they dropped one, I thought on August 9th. I wasn't sure. I probably you'd have to look in the history book or something. But a friend of mine, my daughter's godfather, his birthday was on August 9th, so it's kind of stuck with me that, you know, the bomb was either dropped on the 9th or they surrendered on the 9th. I don't know just which.
How do you feel about the bombing now?
Well, the people, as I said before, I can't blame the people. There's a lot of good people, but the leaders, what they did and the way I think they brainwashed these people. I can't forgive them for what they did. Not for what's laying in Pearl Harbor now, you know.
Mm-hmm. Where were you when they announced that Japan had surrendered?
The what?
When Japan had surrendered, where were you? What were you doing?
When the what ended?
When Japan surrendered.
Oh, well, like I told you, I was in the Gulf of Leyte there. And Japan had surrendered, and I don't know who, MacArthur, I think I had a picture of the guys, the ones that signed it and stuff. Mm-hmm. Every time something happened, we celebrated, that's all. You know?
How did you celebrate that day?
I don't know. This is 65 years ago. It's kind of hard to go into.
Why did you go to Shanghai, China?
I have no idea. Our ship went up in there. Other ships did come up in. Quite a few ships did come up in. And you come up into Yangtze River, and it's you got to go in, I think, at a time when the tide is up. You know, but it was, I don't know what the reason was. I mean, just that Japan had control over it for so many years. You know, everything was just run down terrible. I can imagine today, probably Shanghai is quite a place, you know. Shanghai was a town that I think they had every nationality there was in the world that lived in Shanghai.
What other memories do you have of that mission?
Well, the sampan people that lived on the Yangtze River couldn't get over how they lived. They used all kinds of pictures there of the sampan people that they'd fight over the trash coming off your garbage chute on the fantail of the ship, you know.
What was your relationship with the Chinese?
Mine, not much. We couldn't make much translation, you know. They'd have something, I don't know. They'd have names for us, but the Navy went in there, and I think probably some of the Army was already there, I'm not sure. But somehow or other, the Navy went in there and flashing all our American dollars and the Chinese dollar all of a sudden. Like if you wanted to ride on a rickshaw, it was only just about so much, you know. Indeed, and when they see you had a bill there, well, gee, that's, to them that was a big bill, you know, and that's so everything inflated, you know. That's about what it was, you know.
How did you meet General MacArthur?
I don't know just where. if he was aboard ship or somewhere's in my service connection there. He just made an appearance. That's about it, you know.
What was your impression of him?
Well, everybody thought he was quite a leader, you know. He always had that, "I shall return."
Where and when were you mustered out of service?
When was I out of the service? Well, I was in San Diego aboard a little converted fishing yacht or whatever. They used it for radar business. I was there for maybe 2 or 3 months, maybe. And well, I think in '46 is when I got. It had a point system. You get so many points, and then you could go home. My point system got up to where I could go home. So that was in. It was in July of '46. Because I was in Chicago train yard on my birthday.
Do you remember how many? Oh.
How do you get points?
I don't know what that point system ever amounted to. It's so much time or something. You know, you serve so much time, you get so many points, and some of them would grow after the war had been ended. Some of them would get out on their age. You know, the point system really went up on them. Like if a guy was 39, 40 years old, I mean, bingo, he's out. I don't know just exactly how they did it. I think it was probably time served, you know.
Do you know how many years you served?
Yeah, I only did 22 months, I think.
What medals and citations did you earn, and what were they for?
Oh God, I don't know. I'm never much of a. All I got was just ribbons for the Pacific War Zone, you know, the Philippine Liberation and stuff like that. I think I threw them away.
When you arrived home, when did you arrive home?
I think I arrived. Oh, you mean in the States? See, we left Shanghai and we got into Washington, Seattle, Washington, December 5th. And I had a 30-day leave. I went cross country by train. They don't fly, guys. They don't fly you back and forth during the war, during World War II. You rode a train cross country. So I was on leave for 30 days, and then I came back. My ship was in dry dock. While I was in dry dock, I still had some time there. I went on a weekend pass or something. I went out somewhere up into Washington or Portland or somewhere. I had an uncle who worked in an atomic factory, and I went out to see him. And then he took me out, probably within 2 miles of the factory, to drive around. That's as close as you could get, you know. So. But then.
Oh, go ahead.
Then, well, where's the ship? The ship was in dry dock, and somehow I wound up back down in San Diego for a wait for discharge.
When you were discharged, did you use the GI Bill in any way?
Did I what?
Use the GI Bill?
Oh, when I was discharged? Only for a couple of weeks. At 2250 or something, I don't know what it was. Oh no, for schooling, no. No. They had an unemployment thing too. You could draw for 22 weeks or 22 something for 50 weeks. I don't know, I didn't draw it. I went back to work in the factory.
Do you belong to any veteran organizations?
Yeah, I belong to VFW, I belong to DADS, I belong to DAV.
What do they do? What do they do, each organization?
Well, VFW is they're very active. They do a lot of things. They do a lot of they do a lot of functions that draw money to help the community or to help themselves or to help an organization. They're very, the one I'm in is very active. The DAV, they do a lot.
Have you attended any reunions for World War II?
Oh, for the service reunions, no.
Have you maintained contact with the people you served with?
I did for a while and then I lost track of them. I've got pictures of them and I got their names. I wouldn't know where they're at, if they're gone or. I mean, a lot of World War II veterans are just gone, you know.
Mm-hmm. The U.S. has been in 3 wars since World War II. What strikes you as the major differences between today's military and the military when you served?
Oh, there's a difference, all right. I don't know. I think, in my opinion, there isn't too much ground war anymore. You know, there might have been in Desert Storm or Kuwait or somewhere there, but I don't think there's not much of any. It's too technical now. You know, there's too much going on with missiles and other warfare arms that they have. Some of the stuff that I see, you wouldn't believe, you know, that they have that stuff that's technical today. Like plane can fly so low that they can't even detect them, you know. We never had that stuff before.
Do you think it's better today or worse?
I think their ways of doing things are better. They're not. I should hope that they would save more lives, you know. Of course, we did a lot of ground fighting right in Afghanistan, you know. Mm-hmm. Not too much. I mean, it's we were over there to help them do the fighting.
In conclusion, how did your military experience change your life?
I don't know if it changed my life or not, but I do know that between the basic training and the 22 months that I was in the service, that it's something I'll never forget as long as I live. You know?
Are there any other experiences that you've had? Any other stories?
No, not especially. There's a few odds and ends there you wouldn't want to hear anyways. My one fellow jumped overboard because he didn't want to go overseas. You know, stuff that I don't dig into that stuff. I mean, my son was in Vietnam War. He was in the Navy. He was aboard he went aboard the sister ship that I was on, but he got reassigned to another one, and his ship got bombed up in Luzon, I think it is. Girlfriend was up in there. It was the only ship, only Navy ship that ever got bombed in the Vietnam War. And a brother I had in Korea. So our families had a share of.
Okay, thank you.
A sample of what a V-mail looks like when you write it, you know, and this is how big it is. And you write that letter, and then you mail it. I don't know where it went to or anything, but when it got to where it was going, this is what you had. Now that was a V-mail. You gotta see good to be able to read them. But that was written to me from a friend. He used to be our neighbor. I think this is my answer to him. I don't know if I ever mailed it out or not. And the other one, the one my brother sent to me when he was in the hospital. That my niece got. That's on your records here somewhere. This is some important meeting, and I have an alphabet habit not writing on the back of pictures, but you can imagine that it's got to be important. Because there's Winston Churchill and Roosevelt and. Oh, by the way, Roosevelt died when I was on my way overseas.
How did you hear about it?
Board ship.
How did you feel about it?
Well, we were kind of, you know, set back a little bit because they're changing presidents while you're going overseas. This I never realized too until I read all of it, that my ship was getting prepared to go over before I even got there to be assigned in the Philippines to repair the ships that were damaged on when the 2 bombs were dropped. It says here, repair ship Dixie, part of a fleet, atomic fleet. And they had quite a write-up there. I kept these things, I never read them.
Was your ship the only ship that went to go help repair? Or was the Dixie the only one that went to help repair where the 2 bombs were hit? Or
there was a sister ship, but I don't know just where that was. I mean, that was a Prairie, USS Prairie. We only had the one repair ship in the Philippines. See, the destroyer tender could stay at sea for years, the way they're supplied. There's a machine shop. And they had everything. They had a bake shop. They had everything. And here's a ship here. I don't know how many you personally have to read it. I don't remember. Yeah, short memory. I don't know how many thousand men are assigned to the ship. These are just a lot of pictures of the guys aboard ship. Then I have a lot of pictures of the Yangtze River in Shanghai. That was my greatest experience.
is that your favorite place?
My favorite place? Well, I wouldn't want to live there. This is the Philippines. See, they're marked, some of them are the Philippines. This is our little pet we had in San Diego, a little seal. This is the old racetrack in Shanghai. This pictures of the old racetrack. This there's back in San Diego. You know, I took these pictures when we were over, yeah, on the Wangpu River. And I don't know how or where I took so many pictures. You know, I got pictures of the guys in groups, and then I'd get a picture of some nice building, you know, and I wouldn't write anything on it. I wouldn't know what the building is. And we got
Of any of the places that you went, would you want to go back to visit?
I'd like to visit. Yeah, I'd like to visit Shanghai. There's nothing in the Philippines to see except, you know, I didn't see anything there I wanted to see. But Shanghai, they had fancy, you know, they had rickshaws. My God, they had rickshaws all over the place.
What are rickshaws?
Oh, here you are. There, I don't know who it is in the rickshaw. I rode one a lot.
So you liked riding the rickshaws? Or?
Yeah, better than walking. In the crowded streets.
Do you have to pay people to?
Yeah, you're supposed to pay. You know, you give them money. That's where they found out sailors were dragging out too much money, you know, because they didn't get their money broke down. You have to get your money broke down. These were always the big thing of our ship. See, now they're hauling a motor launch aboard ship.
So those are pictures of your ship?
These cranes did a lot. And one on each side. There's the sampans. I'm telling you, those sampans, they were the... They have these hooks, these bow hooks, you know, that they use to poke themselves away from bumping into one another. They used to... They get an argument, and one of them would stab another one, and he'd just push them off over into the water. Oh, I'm afraid of height, and there I am. Yeah, see, there's another. This is more or less like a postcard. It's a sampan boats of Shanghai. They were quite popular. I'm going to leave all these pictures, and they can hope they can make out what they are. There's the old racetrack. That's when it was in good shape. When I was there, that racetrack was nothing but a mess of dirt, growing up weeds, and I picked up pictures when Shanghai was really active. Quite a few pictures of either some other warships or my ship.
Was the ship that you were on very big?
Pardon?
Was the ship you were on big?
Yeah. It's pretty big. I don't know, like maybe 3 football fields long or something. It's in that, one of those papers. Tells you. These are Shanghai again. The racetrack, that was quite a... They didn't use it though. These were taken... There's a few of us that went on a rickshaw ride. These are just, see, now there's a fellow, where this is at. See, it don't say. But that's where the fellow was at when he was struck by lightning. You know, he was just a mark, like being in out in the open field with a golf club, you know. I remember these guys' names, I remember their faces, but I didn't write down their addresses or anything. There's a gang of them in Shanghai. We all were, I think we had to wear our blues when we went ashore. These are all Yangtze River.
Did people treat you differently because you were in the Navy?
No, no. Oh, there's a couple of them in there somewhere. They're a dragon, Chinese dragon parade. But the population is so dense you couldn't really. That was in October of '45, you know. Now, believe it or not, there's a dragon in the background there. You couldn't get at it. You couldn't get at it to take a picture. Boy, wherever you see ships on the Yangtze River, you saw sampans.
What exactly are sampans?
Oh, just what you see. People live on them. There should be a mess of them here. I probably passed them all. You can see them here behind the ship. There's a mess of them here. People live on these things. See how they got the cover on them there? They live on the river. Then when, there's my ship there. There's a good sampan. When people die, they just tossed overboard. And the tide went in and out 3 times a day on the Yangtze. And they would take the bodies and tie them together and let them go out on the tide. And by the time they hit the Yangtze River and go out to sea, well, then the tide would come back in and bring them all right back up again. So the Chinese people used to tie them all together and haul them right out to sea where they wouldn't come back. They want a picture of me. There's a picture of me and my... See now, there's pictures of the post office in Shanghai. They did have one hotel they called the Park, I think it was. The Park Hotel. Now, see, it might have been this one, but they haven't got it. We ate on the 14th floor. Had a meal up there. And they used to tell us stories that when the Japanese and Chinese were fighting, that the Japanese had control of Shanghai. They would take these Chinese maidens, girls, and they'd make them jump out the window for a thrill, you know. They get drinking, and it was just a thrill for them. And then we were told when we went into a restaurant, not to eat any meat, because you didn't know what you was eating. You know, this is about where our ship was moored. Some of these are Chinese pictures. They got Chinese writing. And I did write on the back of some of them. I was in San Diego. I was aboard up in a crow's nest. I'm afraid of heights, and that's where I'm. This shows how that river was a muddy river, the Wangpu River, you know. It was a muddy, dirty river. Another one of me. These cranes were quite a thing. When we come home from Shanghai and we come across the North Atlantic part through the Aleutians maybe or something up in there, we had a storm, and the storm ripped these motor launches right off the top of the ship.
What were the cranes supposed to do?
The what?
The cranes. What were their purpose?
The cranes?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they would pick up things off the ships they were repairing. They'd either raise them up, or they would mainly bring the motor launches aboard the top deck, you know. All these we had, I don't know how many motor launches we had. They were 50-foot motor launch. And they were all aboard on the top deck. There's more rickshaw.
Did your ship only repair other ships, or did it serve up for other purposes?
No, they repaired other ships, and I think they did have supplies. A supply ship used to come into the harbor and fill us up with supplies. Then we would supply these smaller destroyers and escorts and different ones there. We'd supply them with their whatever they needed, you know. There's a damaged building. I don't know where it is. If only pictures could talk, because I didn't write on them. I think that was it. Another fun experience was crossing the equator. I mean, they had in midship there, they had some kind of a big water hole there made up, you know, like a tub or something. And they used to come down the chute, you know, and the guys have to splash into the chute, and then they have a paddle. They'd have to go through a line of guys would whack them with a paddle. That was initiation for going through something to do with the king of the, I don't know what they called him. That one card told Ancient Order of the Deep, a trusted shellback. The Davy Jones, that's what it is. It's I kept that card. I mean, there's some experiences I'll never forget, you know, across the equator. I did, we went down into the Hebrides on the way down, on the rounds with our troop ship, and we went through these islands here, and then they pointed out to us that no one would ever heard of them, but Ernie Pyle, he was a great newspaper person, reporter, a war correspondent or something. And he got killed over there in the islands over there, and we went close by the island there, and they showed where he was buried. I remember that. I remember them dropping me off on an island too and put me out in the middle of the jungle. They made a mistake. Boy, was I happy for that one. So it was all, you know, when you look back and you came back alive, you was just lucky, that's all. So, if you want these pictures, I don't know what you can do with them, but like Gary says, you know, they'll find a place for them.